Imagine being reborn as the most massive land creature that ever existed. You're about to experience life as an Argentinosaurus, and trust me, your journey from helpless hatchling to 80-ton titan is going to blow your mind. But here's the catch. You start smaller than a football, completely defenseless, in a world where everything wants to eat you. Your adventure begins in the most unexpected way. You're passing through your mother's reproductive system, sliding down what feels like nature's most terrifying water slide. Your mom towers above the landscape at nearly 80 tons, making her one of the largest animals to ever walk Earth. You're currently the size of a cantaloupe, and about as helpless as one too. So what do these giant parents do to keep their precious babies safe? They bury you under a pile of dirt and walk away forever. Sounds harsh, right? But here's the twisted logic. When you're a 70-ton walking earthquake, babysitting isn't exactly practical. Every step could accidentally crush dozens of your own offspring. So abandoning you is actually the kindest thing they can do. Your parents aren't heartless. They're just working with what evolution gave them. But this creates our first massive problem. You're buried in the ground like buried treasure, except every predator in the area knows exactly where to dig. The Argentinosaurus have developed an ingenious solution that's both brilliant and terrifying. Every breeding season, hundreds of adults converge on the same nesting grounds and lay thousands of eggs in one coordinated event. Instead of you being the only target, you're now part of the largest lottery system in prehistoric history. It's a numbers game where your survival depends entirely on other babies being less lucky than you. With over 1,000 eggs scattered across the nesting site, predators can feast for months without finding them all. You'll spend the next few months growing inside your shell, developing from cantaloupe-sized to about the size of a large goose. When you finally crack through that protective barrier, reality hits harder than a meteorite. The moment your tiny head pokes out of the dirt, you realize you've entered what can only be described as a prehistoric horror movie. The ground around you is littered with broken shells and scattered remains of your less fortunate siblings. Your first challenge is immediate and brutal, getting from your burial spot to the tree line without becoming someone's breakfast. Remember those sea turtles you've seen racing across beaches toward the ocean? You're basically doing the same thing, except instead of seagulls, you're dodging 30-foot-long killing machines with teeth like railroad spikes. Your stubby little legs weren't designed for speed, maxing out at maybe a few miles per hour. That's slower than most humans walk. The smart hatchlings figure out the secret pretty quickly. You need to coordinate your escape with other survivors, creating chaos that divides the predator's attention. It's like the ultimate game of musical chairs, except the penalty for being last isn't embarrassment, it's becoming lunch. Dozens of you burst from the ground simultaneously, scattering in every direction like a living explosion. Left and right, your brothers and sisters are disappearing into massive jaws, but their sacrifice gives you the precious seconds needed to reach the fern forests. Congratulations, you've survived your first 5 minutes of life. Your brain might be tiny, but it's already developing some serious trauma responses. Fortunately for your mental health, that walnut-sized brain can only focus on two things. Don't get eaten, and eat everything you can. The forest you've entered is absolutely crawling with creatures that see you as the perfect snack. Scorpiovenator prowls through the underbrush like prehistoric wolves, while overhead, massive pterosaurs scan for movement with eyes sharper than eagles. Your only defense at this size is playing hide-and-seek with death itself. Those brownish stripes and mottled patterns covering your tiny body aren't just for show. They're your ticket to staying alive. Just like how baby deer are born with white spots that mimic sunlight filtering through forest canopies, your coloration helps you blend perfectly with the dappled shadows of fern fronds and rotting logs. It's not the most exciting superpower, but when you're bite-sized, being boring can save your life. Staying with your newly formed herd becomes absolutely critical. There's safety in numbers, and as long as you're not the slowest or most obvious target, your odds of seeing tomorrow increase dramatically. But let's be honest, these are all just temporary solutions to a much bigger problem. You're small, and in the Cretaceous period, small equals dead. The only way to escape this nightmare is to grow and grow fast. Here's where things get interesting. You need to consume massive amounts of vegetation to fuel your growth, but eating as a baby Argentinosaurus is nothing like you'd expect. First off, you don't have time to be picky. Your metabolism is running at full throttle, requiring almost constant feeding with only a few hours of sleep each night. You are basically a living lawnmower that never turns off, stripping every edible plant within reach. But here's the weird part. You can't actually chew your food. Those massive crushing teeth that adult sauropods are famous for. This might sound like a disadvantage, but it's actually a time-saving adaptation. While other dinosaurs waste precious minutes grinding up their meals, you're already moving on to the next plant. Without teeth to break down tough plant fibers, you need to get creative with your digestion. Step 1 involves doing something that would make most people gag: swallowing rocks. These aren't just any rocks either. You need to carefully select smooth, hard stones that will survive the acidic environment of your stomach. Once swallowed, these become gastroliths, essentially turning your stomach into a rock tumbler that mechanically breaks down plant matter. But wait, it gets worse. To develop the complex gut bacteria needed to extract maximum nutrition from plants, you'll need to do something absolutely disgusting: eat fresh adult Argentinosaurus dung. This steaming pile of processed vegetation is loaded with the beneficial bacteria that will colonize your digestive system and help you survive on a plant-only diet. It's revolting, but it's also essential. Think of it as the world's worst probiotic supplement. With your digestive system properly equipped, your growth explodes into overdrive. By your first birthday, you're already the size of a full-grown cow. By year 2, you've doubled that, and the acceleration is just beginning. Your tail starts developing into a formidable whip-like weapon. Your legs lose their stubby awkwardness, and your neck begins its incredible stretch toward the canopy. But here's the cruel irony. Getting bigger creates a whole new set of problems. You're entering what scientists call the predator gap, where you're too large to hide effectively, but still small enough to be targeted by specialized hunters. Maposaurus, the apex predators of your time, have evolved specifically to take down juvenile sauropods like you. These monsters can reach 40 feet in length and possess the pack-hunting intelligence to coordinate attacks on creatures your size. When a Maposaurus pack appears, your options are severely limited. You're too big to run effectively. Your top speed barely reaches 5 miles per hour. You're too large to hide behind vegetation anymore, and you're still too small to fight back effectively. You've become the worst possible thing, a slow-moving target that can't defend itself. Your only hope is that the predators choose someone else from your dwindling herd. This is the most dangerous period of your entire life. Many of your childhood companions won't make it through this phase. Their bones will join the countless other fossils scattered across the Cretaceous landscape, silent testimony to the brutal reality of prehistoric life. The herd you once knew is shrinking rapidly, and it's becoming clear that you need to find protection elsewhere. The time has come to seek out an adult herd, but finding a group of 80-ton giants isn't as easy as you might think. It's like trying to spot whales in an ocean. There's a lot of territory and not many whales. Adult Argentinosaurus follow predictable migration routes, leaving behind subtle clues for those smart enough to read them. The key is understanding their patterns and following the evidence they leave behind. Their massive feet leave tracks that persist for months, creating highways of compressed earth that point the way forward. More importantly, their feeding habits create breadcrumb trails of opportunity. As they strip vegetation and process it through their digestive systems, they're constantly planting seeds in their wake. Those steaming piles of dung you learn to eat as a hatchling? They're actually treasure maps marking the routes of adult herds. Following pheromone trails becomes your GPS system. Adult Argentinosaurus communicate through chemical signals that linger in the environment long after they've passed through an area. By carefully tracking these scent markers, you can predict where the herd is heading and intercept their path. After months of following these clues, your persistence finally pays off in the most unexpected way. You're settling down for another night of standing sleep. You're now too large to comfortably lie down. When you're suddenly awakened by what feels like a warm, yellow waterfall cascading from above. That's right. You've just been baptized by roughly 100 gallons of adult Argentinosaurus urine. These giants drink so much water that during dry seasons, a single herd can literally drain entire ponds. Their bladders are correspondingly massive, and their bathroom breaks are more like flash floods. But hey, at least it means you found them. And surprisingly, it doesn't taste that bad. You're probably dehydrated anyway. Joining an adult herd brings immediate benefits and new challenges. On the plus side, you're now protected by some of the largest animals that ever lived. When a pack of Maposaurus approaches, the adults form a defensive circle with the juveniles in the center, using their massive tails as whips and their necks as battering rams. No predator, no matter how hungry or desperate, wants to face down a wall of 80-ton defenders. But you're definitely the new kid in school, and the social dynamics are complex. There's a clear hierarchy based on age and size, and you're starting at the very bottom. The matriarch, a 50-year-old female who's probably the grandmother of half the herd, runs the show with an iron fist. When she decides it's time to move, everyone moves. When she chooses feeding spots, everyone else waits their turn. You're learning that even among giants, respect is earned through time and experience. The social structure isn't just about dominance, it's about survival. The matriarch's lifetime of experience has taught her which water sources are reliable, which routes avoid the worst predators, and where the richest feeding grounds can be found. Her knowledge has kept this family group alive for decades, and now you're benefiting from that accumulated wisdom. As years pass, and you continue growing, you gradually work your way up the social ladder. By age 20, you've reached a critical milestone. You're finally too large for most predators to consider attacking. Your neck has become an incredible feeding tool, allowing you to reach vegetation 40 feet off the ground while barely moving your body. But the real game changer is the rotational feeding technique you've mastered. Instead of lumbering around to reach different plants, you can now sweep your neck in massive arcs, clearing entire sections of forest without taking a single step. It's like having a 30-foot-long vacuum cleaner attached to your body. This efficiency allows you to consume the enormous quantities of vegetation needed to fuel your continued growth, while minimizing energy expenditure. Your appearance has transformed dramatically too. The cryptic coloration that kept you hidden as a juvenile has been replaced by vibrant displays of color, designed to attract mates and establish dominance. When you're the size of a 4-story building, camouflage becomes pointless. Instead, your skin now showcases brilliant patterns that can be seen from miles away, advertising your health and genetic fitness to potential partners. But those potential partners aren't interested yet. You're still competing with older, larger males who dominate the mating hierarchy. When breeding season arrives, the competition gets intense. Male Argentinosaurus engage in neck wrestling contests that look like titanic slow-motion sword fights. These battles can last for hours, with each combatant using their massive neck muscles to try and overpower their opponent. You lose, repeatedly. The older bulls have both size and experience advantages that seem impossible to overcome. Their necks are thicker, their leverage is better, and their fighting techniques have been refined through decades of competition. Each defeat is humiliating and painful, a reminder that size alone isn't enough. You need time to reach your full potential. Finally, around age 30, your persistence pays off. You've grown large enough and strong enough to defeat some of the older males in combat. Victory brings the ultimate prize, mating rights, and the opportunity to pass on your genes. Your offspring will be laid in the same nesting grounds where your own incredible journey began. And following the ancient tradition of your species, you'll abandon them to face the same challenges that nearly destroyed you. The statistics are sobering. Of the 1,000 eggs laid in your birth year, only about 50 individuals survive to adulthood, a staggering 95% mortality rate. You're not just a survivor, You're a statistical miracle. But at least your genes are now part of the next generation's lottery, giving new hatchlings their own chance at beating the odds. By age 40, you've essentially reached your adult size, though some scientists believe Argentinosaurus continued growing slowly throughout their entire lives. You're now approximately 80 tons, roughly equivalent to 13 African elephants stacked together. Your length stretches over 110 feet, making you longer than many blue whales. The transformation from your cantaloupe-sized beginning is almost incomprehensible. You've increased your mass by roughly 100,000 times. This incredible size is partially achieved through evolutionary cheating. Your bones are filled with air sacs that reduce weight while maintaining structural strength. These pneumatic bones allow you to achieve maximum volume with minimum mass, making you appear even more massive than your actual weight. You're like a biological hot air balloon, maximizing intimidation factor while keeping your skeleton from collapsing under its own weight. At this size, you're completely immune to predation. Even the largest Maposaurus looks tiny compared to your bulk. When threatened, you can rear up on your hind legs and bring your front feet crashing down like a biological hydraulic press. The ground shakes with each step you take, and trees bend or break when you brush against them. You've become a living force of nature. Your role in the ecosystem has evolved from prey to protector. As one of the herd elders, you help guide migration routes and share the survival knowledge you've accumulated over decades. Young adults look to you for leadership, just as you once looked to the matriarch who guided your early years. The cycle continues, with each generation building on the wisdom of those who came before. Some Argentinosaurus live to be over 100 years old, spending their final decades as mobile repositories of ecological knowledge. You teach others about seasonal patterns, predator behavior, and the locations of critical resources. Your massive brain, while small relative to your body's size, has been accumulating survival data for decades, making you an invaluable resource for the herd's continued survival. But even giants aren't immortal. After surviving countless predator attacks, droughts, floods, and diseases, the greatest threat to your existence comes from the sky. During thunderstorms, your incredible height makes you a natural lightning rod. Trees provide little cover when you tower above the forest canopy, and the electrical discharges that illuminate the Cretaceous night sky pose a constant danger. On your 51st birthday, during a particularly violent storm, the inevitable finally happens. A bolt of lightning, searching for the tallest object in the landscape, finds you. In an instant, your remarkable journey from helpless hatchling to prehistoric titan comes to an end. It's ironic that after surviving everything the Cretaceous could throw at you, predators, starvation, disease, and countless other dangers, it's a force of nature that finally claims you. Your massive body will become a feast for scavengers and eventually fossilize, joining the countless other Argentinosaurus remains scattered across South America. Millions of years later, paleontologists will marvel at your bones, trying to piece together the story of your incredible life. They'll study your vertebrae, measure your limb bones, and calculate your estimated size, but they'll never fully understand the remarkable journey you undertook from that first terrifying dash across the nesting grounds to your final moments as Lord of the Cretaceous landscape. The life of an Argentinosaurus is a testament to the power of persistence and evolutionary adaptation. Starting as one of nature's most vulnerable creatures and transforming into its most magnificent giant represents one of biology's greatest success stories. Every step of your journey, from swallowing rocks and eating dung to mastering the art of neck wrestling and becoming a herd patriarch, demonstrates the incredible lengths life will go to ensure survival and reproduction. Your story reminds us that even the mightiest giants start small, that survival often depends more on luck than skill, and that size alone doesn't guarantee success. It takes intelligence, adaptability, and an enormous amount of persistence to grow from a melon-sized hatchling into an 80-ton titan. But when you finally achieve that incredible transformation, when you can look down on the world from a height no land animal will ever reach again, the journey becomes worth every terrifying moment along the way. That's a wrap on today's wild journey. But here at the Zoo-phoria show, we're just getting started exploring nature's most incredible stories. Subscribe if you want to keep discovering the shocking, hilarious, and downright unbelievable truths about the animals sharing our planet. Your next favorite animal fact is just one click away.